Hi, welcome to this webinar with CoExpert, a magazine about plumbing, heating and cooling, and with me, Sophie Keloganian. Today I suggest to talk about the softener in the individual house. So, the contents of the presentation. I'm going to explain the issue, so to make the issue description, to explain when is it necessary to soften the tap water, and we are going to talk about the water hardness, where the softener is installed in the individual house, the way of operating, and we are going to do a focus about the drinking water because many people ask questions about the drinking water quality. At the end of the presentation, some information about the installation, the commissioning, and the maintenance. Pay attention to that. I've done a webinar about the softener with all the explanation about the way of operating. So I'm not going to go deeper in the way of operating. The webinar the title of the webinar was the softener in the collective housing. You can find it in YouTube, so I recommend to attend it. So first, let's talk about the scale issue. The main reason to install a softener is the lifetime of the pieces of equipment, such as the boiler, the hot water tank. You can see here in the picture on the left the resistance and the electrode of the hot tap water tank. And here in this picture, a pipe with a lot of scale deposition. There is another reason to install a softener, and this reason is mainly the comfort. In order to clean the shower and to make it easy, because of the skin, many people have some skin irritation because of the hardness of the water and also the linen softness. So now, when is it necessary to soften the water? It depends on the water hardness, and it depends also on the application. But in the individual house, it's mainly for all the water, for all the house. So the pieces of equipment and the tap water to drink the water and to clean, for example. So it's mainly a matter. So when is it necessary to soften the water? It's necessary a matter of hardness. The hardness is expressed with different units. In France, it's the French degrees. In America, it's the ppm, so parts per million, or milligram per liter. In England, it's the Clark degree or English degree. And in Germany, it's the German degree. You can see here that 1 French degree is equal to 10 ppm, 10 milligram per liter, 0.7 English degree, and 0.56 German degree. Why is it different from one country to another? It's because we don't use the same product for the calculation. It's only a matter of product. So in the table below, you can see the hardness, the water quality, if it's a soft water or a hard water, if it's necessary to install a softener or not, and the objective of the softener. So here you can see that for hardness below 15, it's not necessary to soften the water because we are going to try to have an outlet, a softener outlet hardness equal to 10. So below 15, it's not necessary to install a softener. It's only a matter of comfort if people want to install one. But above 20, I'm talking about French degrees, above 20 degrees, the water is becoming hard and it can be necessary. It's essential when the hardness is above 30 French degrees, because the water is very hard, so there is a big deposition, a scale deposition, and for the lifetime of the installation, it's essential to install an installer. So above 20, above 15, it's not necessary. Above 20, 25, it's a good idea to install what? To install and install. So it's mainly at the hardness. Okay, so now where to install the softener? There are two possibilities for the house. So first, the point of entry of the network. In that case, all the pieces of equipment are protected against the line deposition. In that case, the drinking water is a soft water, so it's a little bit less rich in calcium and magnesium, but it's a little bit richer in natrium. We are going to see that. And but it's also possible to add in the network a bypass in order to have a separate unsoftened water supply. It's recommended by the regulation in order to drink a raw water without a softener. The other possibility is to install the softener only in order to feed the hot water tank and to protect the hot water tank. But that means all the household appliances, so the dishwasher, for example, or it's not a good example, the washing machine is not protected against the hardness of the water. But in that case, the advantage is that there is no impact on the drinking water quality, so it's better for drinking the water. Function and generalities about the softener. So the objective of the softener is to remove the hardness of the water, so to remove calcium and magnesium. It's a highly reliable process. There is no, if the softener is well maintained, it works. It always works. The outlet hardness has to be adjusted at about 10 French degrees in order to not to have soft water in the network, because it can lead to corrosion. The sizing of the softener is function of the water consumption of the house. So if there are 4 or 5 many people in the house, it's based on that, and the water hardness. For instance, for an individual house and 4 people, a softener with 18 liters of resin is necessary. And how can we differentiate the suppliers? All the softeners are the same, but the head can be different. The head can be easy or not to program, so it's a key point. The compactness, the resin capacity, and of course the supplier itself. It depends on the services it can offer. Let's talk now about the way of operating. As I said previously, I won't go deeper in this process because I explained it in details during the webinar Softener in the Collective Housing. So I recommend to see this webinar. So as a reminder, the calcium and magnesium ions from the water are caught by the resin. In exchange, the resin releases natrium ions. And at the outlet, in order not to have a hardness equal to 0, a mixture between the soft water and the raw water is made in order to achieve a hardness equal at 10 French degrees. And of course, after some time, the resin is saturated. There is no natrium ions to exchange anymore because all the ions were released. So it's necessary to regenerate the resin. It's the opposite process. So the calcium and magnesium ions are released from the resin to the water, and natrium ions are caught and are again present in the resin. However, to do the regeneration, it's necessary to produce some brine. So there is a salt tank just around the softener, or with an independent salt tank in order to prepare the brine. So about the water quality, the water after the softener, so the softened water, the water contains less calcium and magnesium, and also contains a little bit more natrium. So that's the main point about the drinking water, and we are going to talk mainly about the drinking water. So now, there are many questions about the drinking water quality. Is there a hardness regulatory for the drinking water? You can find many things about the internet about the drinking water, and you can find that it's there is no I'm going to explain that. So the question is can we drink calcium and magnesium free water? If the hardness is 0, can we drink the water? And can we drink a water with a lot of calcium and magnesium? There is another topic about natrium. Natrium is not very good for the health. So the softened water contains too much natrium. Can I drink it? So we are going to answer these questions. The hardness and the regulatory limits for the hardness. There are no limits regarding a minimum or maximum hardness for the tap water. That's why you can find on the internet that it's possible to drink water with no calcium and magnesium because there is no regulatory limit. That's not true. So pay attention to that. Be careful. That's not true. In the regulation, yes, there is no limit regarding calcium and magnesium, so regarding the hardness. But in the regulation, it's mentioned that tap water must be balanced or slightly hard. That means if you want the water to be balanced or slightly hard, that means it's necessary to have calcium and magnesium inside. So no, even if there is no limits regarding the hardness, it's impossible to have water free of calcium and magnesium because the water must be balanced. So pay attention to that. For example, I have some example in France, in the Massif Central, so in the middle of France, in the mountains, in Vosges, in Britain too. The hardness can be 5 French degrees, so it's very low. And we also find some very hard water in the north of France, for example, above 35 French degrees. And in the case of the bottles of mineral water, some water are very hard. The hardest water we can find here in France, it's the water called EPA, perhaps you know it. And the hardness of this water is 1086 French degrees, if I remember well. So what happens if we drink calcium and magnesium free water? That means with the water with the hardness equal to 0. First, you have to know that calcium and magnesium from the water are not in the form the most assimilated by the body. So it's not a matter of daily intake because we can find calcium and magnesium everywhere in our food. Perhaps it's a little bit more difficult for magnesium, but it's not a problem. So that's not the topic. But the topic is that our body tries to balance with the water that we drink. If the water, there is a, so for example, about calcium and magnesium, our body and the water we drink are trying to balance all the time. So if there is a lot of calcium and magnesium in the water, our body is going to assimilate some calcium and magnesium from the water. But if it's the opposite, if there is no calcium and magnesium in the water, that means our body is going to release calcium and magnesium in order to achieve the balance. So it can be very dangerous if we drink only this soft water. That means here with a hardness equal to 0. For example, here we have our body. I'm sorry, it's written in French. So notre corps is our body. L'eau de boisson is the drinking water. And there are some calcium and magnesium both in our body and in the drinking water. There are also some exchange. Our body try to balance all the time. And if there is no calcium and magnesium in the drinking water, our body is going to release some calcium and magnesium to achieve this balance. So the consequences on our health can be very important. What happens if we drink calcium and magnesium free water? As of course, it's not just for one time, it's all the time, every day. The lack of calcium can lead to osteoporosis, hypertension, malfunction in fat elimination, for example, or regulation of good cholesterol. It's just some examples. We can find many other malfunctions due to the lack of calcium. About the lack of magnesium, some cardiac trouble and some malfunction too in the transport of elements through the membranes, the protein synthesis, and a lot of other trouble. So pay attention to that. So just regarding the softener we can install at home, the hardness at the softener outlet is not 0, it's 10 French degrees. So we have no problem of lack of calcium and magnesium. The water is still potable and it's possible to drink it. So no problem after a softener. There is no problem with calcium and magnesium in the water. Now, just to give you the information, what happens if we drink a water with a very high hardness value? Nothing really important. That means the water contains a lot of mineral salts, so there is a strong flavor, and there is no real impact of the health. That only means our kidneys are going to work harder than if we drink another kind of water. So perhaps it's not a good idea for people who have trouble kidneys issue, but I can't say more. So just a few impact on the health, but that's only for the information. Now, what about the natrium content? That's also a real topic. There is a European standard regarding the natrium content. The maximum amount of natrium is 200 milligrams per liter. As we hear mainly things about salt and not about natrium, I made the calculation to give you the salt content because it's the information we know. We don't really look at the natrium content, but mainly at the salt content. So you have it here in the table, the European standard limit. So about the salt, it's 0.5 gram per liter. The recommendation by the European Union is 6 grams per day. Sorry, it's also in French. It's not jour, it's day. To give you some information, the average value for still water is about 0.03 gram per liter. For the sparkling water, the highest value I found about the sparkling water, it's the Vichy Saint-Cyr, is 4.5 gram per liter. So a lot of salt and a very strong salty taste for this water. And the soft water, regarding hardness reduction from 35 to 10 French degrees. So in that case, because it's a common case here, the amount of salt is 0.3 gram per liter. So it's 10 times more than for the still water. It's very low regarding the sparkling water, but we are going to compare this amount with the food and with the deal we can have every day. So just to notice that to exceed the standard limit, which is 200 milligram natrium per liter, the hardness reduction has to be about 42 French degrees. So it's a very big value. So it's really difficult to exceed the natrium limits. So there is no problem with the softener. So to compare, so I made the comparison about the amount of salt in the water and the salt content in our food. So just to remind you, the tap water for the European Union limit for the tap water, so for the salt, it's 0.05 gram per 100 gram this time, maximum. And the water after the softener, so with the hardness reduction from 35 to 10 French degrees, it's 0.03 gram per 100 gram of water. So if you compare with the value with the ham, for example, it's 2.1. So regarding 0.03, it's very high. The bread, 1.7. The chicken, 1.1. The eggs, 0.3. And the garbage, we can find also salt in the vegetables. So the garbage, 0.06. And the leek, 0.03 gram. So you can see that with this comparison, this amount of salt here is not very high comparing to the other vegetables or other kind of food we take. Now another comparison. So still about the salt content. If you drink 1.5 liter of soft water, so still with the hardness reduction from 35 to 10, the amount of salt you are going to ingest is 0.8 gram. Comparing with that, a simple meal, so with 2 slices of white ham, some puree, and some salad with no added salt, so it tastes not really good. In that case, the natural amount of salt is 1.8 gram for this meal. And if we add a half baguette, we can add also 2.2 gram of salt. So just to give you the information that the amount of salt we can ingest due to the soft water, if we drink only the soft water at home, it's not very high comparing with the other salt, the other amount of salt we can ingest. So it's not very high. So it's not a problem for the health. There is no impact for the health. It can taste a little salty, but there is no problem for the health. But pay attention to people who are on a salt diet. Of course, if people don't have to reduce the amount of salt they eat, we are not going to give them soft water. I think it's logical. Okay, for this part, now a word about the installation, the commissioning, and the maintenance. So for the installation, first, so here we are at the entrance of the individual house. So that's the tap water network. So first, it's necessary to have a pressure control in order to not to have a pressure higher than 3 bar in the softener. A stop valve, a no return valve in order to avoid pollution of the network, of the city network. A filter here in order to filter sediments, and there is also a bypass included in the package with the softener. It's recommended to have this pipe in order to drink non-softened water. A flexible pipe, so it's better to install the softener and to connect it with flexible pipes because of the mechanical stress on the head, to avoid that. Of course, a plug, 2 draining pipes. One is for the salt tank and the salt tank overflow, and the other is for the regeneration, and siphon. Okay, so that's for the installation. The commissioning now. For the commissioning, first, so it's done by an installer. It's better, or an installer or someone who, for example, about regarding the Comap softeners, we have dedicated people in order to do the softener commissioning. So first, it's necessary to measure the raw water hardness with strips or drip. Second, it's necessary to fill the softener with water and salt. So it's mainly about the salt tank around the softener. Of course, open the bypass, plug the softener. It's necessary to program the head. So with the water hardness, we can have the information about the water volume. We can soften between 2 regenerations. So there is a checklist from the supplier to do that. For Comap, there is a checklist, and we just have to follow the checklist and to enter the right volume. Start the regeneration. It's in order to check that, to check the flows, to check it works, and it's also a leak test. And the outer hardness must be adjusted between 10 and 15, so also with strips or drips. And there is a mixing screw to do that on the softener head. The last point is about the maintenance. So the maintenance must be performed every year. It's really necessary to do the maintenance. Be careful of the bacteria development in this kind of the bacteria development in the softener. So it's necessary to do the maintenance every year. Well, it can be done twice a year too. So the sediment filter has to be replaced every year, so it's mandatory. The resin must be disinfected, and that's really important. So twice a year, put half this bottle of cleaner in the salt tank in order to do the disinfection. It's to avoid the bacteria development in the softener. It's necessary, so check the outer water hardness and adjust it if it's necessary, and clean the salt tank. That's also it's necessary, clean it. Thank you very much. This webinar is finished now. You can join us on CoExpert. You can join us on the social media. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.